Hey, good morning. Welcome back to the Swish on Sunday podcast. This is Coach O, or Brandon Osborne, and I am so thankful to share with you some small insights about what we are going to discuss this week. And I'm super pumped about this topic that I think all of us can appreciate, especially if you're in the youth basketball development space, is what should youth basketball practice and games look like? Well, before we start and dig into that, I kind of classify youth basketball development in kind of three different categories. One, you have your very introductory level. Two, I think you kind of would have the intermediate level. And then three, I'd call it the advanced. So, introductory level, my belief and my wholehearted opinion is every kid should have the opportunity to play every position. Very positionless youth basketball. So everyone should get an opportunity to dribble the ball up against pressure. Everyone should have the opportunity to be able to shoot it, to drive it. Everyone must learn how to dribble, shoot, and pass against pressure. And from an officiating standpoint, I do believe that you allow kids a little bit of creativity, 4 to 5 steps, because they're still learning. They're developing the process of what it takes to be a good basketball player. Defensively, I don't think you should allow them to steal the ball from the ball handler starting out. And I also don't think they should be able to steal really in general, because for them to want to continue to participate in the game of basketball, they should experience some success as many times as possible in that introductory level. An introductory level to me is anything from 4 to about 7. That's that basic introductory level of basketball, or anyone that's kind of just gotten started. Now for the intermediate level, which I think most of our kids, students, and population, where they kind of reside. This is the kids who played a little bit. They've kind of been around. They've played multiple sports, and they're somewhat familiar with rules. Parents are a little more familiar as well. Our parents may be former athletes. And so their opinion is very much so win the game as best and as much as you possibly can, as opposed to the youth level. Many of them don't really care if they win or not. Or the introductory level, sorry. They don't really care if they win or not. They just want to see the kids have some fun. Well, and this is the irony of this is, I think the ages of 8 to 12 are the most pivotal of playing any sport in general, but specifically basketball, because we want them to continue to play past the age of 12. We want them to play in the high school, in the 8th grade through high school. And this is primarily the time, that 8 through 12 is when kids begin to say, I don't really like this game because of a couple components. Number one, zone defense. I think zone defense in youth basketball should not be allowed. And here's why. Well, we know most of the kids are probably not super strong. And most of the gyms that you go to have to probably play on a 10-foot goal. We're fortunate that we can kind of adjust our baskets from 8 feet all the way to 10 feet. But most gyms aren't equipped that way. And most gyms probably have them play with either a women's size ball or an adult men's ball, which again, I think is not developmentally appropriate. But here's why zone's not appropriate. One, how many kids can actually shoot it from the 3-point line successfully with great technique? Don't worry, I'll wait. Not many. It's just not many. And so most of the time they're heaving the ball, they're chunking it up there and hoping that this ball will travel far and it just so happened to get into the rim. I've seen thousands of basketball games, and very rarely have I seen an 8, 9, 10-year-old that can consistently knock down a 3-point shot. So that's the number one reason why zone is bad. Number two, the skip pass. Most kids cannot make that skip pass from one free throw line extended to the other free throw line extended. So again, the success rate of that from an offensive standpoint is going to be very, very, very low. Defensively, obviously, it's going to work out well because kids can't shoot. You'll secure the rebound, and then you'll go down there and score. Well, congrats to you, but not congrats to your team. Third, another reason why zone defense is bad, it does not teach the defensive side of the basketball because they're guarding an area and not a person. Now, if you're in strategy basketball, you're in high school, this is just another strategy to win the game because everybody's somewhat on a level playing field. Well, in this case, in youth development, it's not a level playing field. And so trying to play a strategy defense is just not developmentally appropriate. It does not enhance the basketball experience for either side, offensively or defensively. Number two reason why the youth division should be one of the other reasons why youth basketball is suffering, I feel like, is the press, the full court traps and presses. We know, obviously, most kids at the 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 age cannot dribble the ball against pressure. They just can't. They struggle with it. They struggle with two people being on them. They struggle with being able to pass out of that while someone else is running through a passing lane to try to steal a ball. And so, again, I do believe that my personal belief is that trapping and full court trapping is just not developmentally appropriate, again, because it does not make me say I want to continue to play this game. It makes me say this is a chaotic experience that I don't want to be involved in. Well, if the long-term goal is to try to grow the game as best as we can, then we got to have more participants that are actually playing the game. Don't overstimulate the game so early, which allows players to lose their confidence. So I am a proponent of the 8 through 12-year-old to apply full court pressure defense. I am a huge believer in that because they do need to learn how to handle pressure while bringing the ball up. And do I believe everybody should be allowed to bring the ball up still at this nature of the game? Yes. Why? You never know. That kid that may be super small may end up being super tall. That kid that may be super tall may end up not growing a whole lot more. So don't box them into being a post or a wing or whatever the case that you have decided. Let all of them bring the ball up. Why? Because it helps grow the game. It helps in the spirit of everyone gets a chance to play that position. Why? Because we want positionless basketball. Why? Look at the NBA. Look at the highest levels. There is no position. There are 7-footers that shoot threes better than guards. Okay, so just look at the process of the game. Also, I do believe that we should vary the size of the basketball. I don't think everybody should shoot with the same size basketball. I just think that's not healthy for the growth of their shot mechanics, dribble mechanics, and passing mechanics. I just don't think they should be playing with the ball. Again, if we're trying to grow the game, the process should not be focused on the win-loss column. It should be on the development and the process of basketball. So they should use smaller balls and progress, which we're fortunate, again, in our facility that we can do that. We have various sizes of balls so kids can experience success and actually do things the right way with the correct technique that you choose. Okay, so now let's get to the topic of, keeping score and what should it be allowed and what should not be allowed. My belief is once it gets to about a 20-point lead, that the coaches should make all the adjustments to, one, allow kids that don't normally play certain positions to experiment and explore in those positions. Now, that's a coaching strategy, but what it does long term is it allows kids to experience basketball at various levels without the score being a determining factor. I think a lot of times coaches we as coaches, we love to show what we know in terms of strategy, as opposed to showing what we know in terms of development in the individual player that will serve them 5-6 years down the line. Here is the reality, coach. Let me explain this to you. Let me say this very clearly. No one cares if you win every youth basketball championship but you. Let me repeat that. No one cares if you went undefeated in anything under the age of 14. No one. And you say, well, coach, well, what is it about then? It's about what those guys can do and girls can do from the ages of 14 and 18. That's what it's about. The focus, I'm not concerned with what you're doing under the age of 14, except the process and the development of their skill set, of their mindset, and their ability to focus on the development and process of being good, what that looks like, and celebrating the small wins and helping them have fun. If any of them, you can ask any player at any time, why do they play? Because it's fun. And then you ask them, why did they stop? It's because they didn't have fun. Okay, so some people go, well, we went undefeated. I know the formula to how to win a youth basketball game every time. You want to hear it? Here it is. Give the ball to the best ball handler. Have the biggest kid that you can find set a screen on his or her man. Have them come across and take most of the shots. Then on the defensive side, you full court trap them, make them give it up. And if they don't allow you to full court trap, then you zone. Do various versions of zone. 2-3, 1-3-1, 3-2 to confuse the 8, 9, 10, 11-year-old or 5, 6-year-old, to confuse them, force them to turn the ball over, and then go. Also, never allow any other players to bring the ball down. You have 2 distinguished point guards, which in a lot of cases is your son or daughter who you have groomed to become really, really good. And you allow them to take most of the shots. And congrats, you will win a lot of basketball games. But you have gained 2 to 3 great players, but you've wounded 7. You continue that process for 3 to 4 years, you've gained 15 players, or 10 to 15 players, because most of the time you're moving up with your son or daughter, but you've wounded 30 to 40 players. So you are what's wrong with youth basketball. If your focus is, I'm going to win every basketball game possible. Coaches, this even includes tournaments that you play in. I get it. You sign up for tournaments so you can attempt to win. I do understand that. I get it. But hopefully your intent as anything under the age of 14 is development. You want them to develop a skill set that one day, possibly, this kid can make their freshman, their junior varsity, or their varsity basketball team. And if they're fortunate and blessed with some other gifts, that they can maybe play past the age of 18. And if they're really fortunate, blessed, and gifted, and slightly lucky, then they can play past the age of 22. But long term, most of them will be done at 18. Well, if they're done at 18, what life lessons and experiences have you as their coach taught them and enhanced in them to make them a more quality person to serve their local community? Hopefully that is your internal focus, that you're focused on them learning what hard work is, and grit and teamwork and diligence and discipline and focus and the intent and practice planning and preparation and how to bounce back after mistakes, how to respond versus react, how to push through fatigue and pain, how to deal with various coaches, how to deal with various when things don't go their way. How do they handle it? How do they handle when the referees aren't very good, or the gyms is cold or hot, or the floor is slippery? How do they handle all of those things? Hopefully, you have taught them those things, because ultimately that's what life is about. And you use basketball to teach life, or sports in general to teach life. So, Coach, again, I know most of you are volunteers, and I know most of you are trying your best to be very deliberate and very, focused on, hopefully the development and not just the win-loss column. And hopefully your focus is to try to grow the game, to get more kids to play, so kids can, we know all the benefits of sports and what team sports can offer them a lot longer than, or a lot more than this, just a win-loss column. So hopefully that's your focus. And if your focus is the win-loss column, my suggestion is that you get into high major Division I basketball, or go high, elite high school level basketball, because then that's all that matters is the win-loss column. But let me give you a little side note in the tip. The most successful coaches that won didn't focus on the win-loss column. They focused on the development of the young women and young men that they were responsible for. And all of a sudden, the win-loss column began to take care of itself. You don't have to believe me. Just go look at the likes of John Wooden, of Dean Smith, of Nick Saban, of just anyone that wins. Go look up the North Carolina soccer team. Go look up the all-black soccer team. Go look at any program that is consistently won, and maybe read their coaches' books. Read them. Look at their strategies. A lot of times they're not talking about the win-loss column. They're developing them through various activities, games, strategies, and tactics that will enhance who they are as people. And those lessons that they learned as people will convert into what they do as an athlete. Hey, again, that's just a moment with me just to talk about my small input about what youth basketball could be if everyone was focused on the development and let the winning take care of itself. So if there's a topic for this, do the small things and the winning will take care of itself. Hey, y'all have an outstanding week, day, and I hope to hear from you soon. I hope you enjoyed it here with Coach O, Brandon Osborne, Switch Home Sunday. Love you, and make today the best day yet. Talk to you soon.